In order to become a forensic psychologist, you must have a background in the field of forensic psychology. But what is forensic psychology? According to a database titled Forensic Psychology, written by Kimberly McClure, forensic psychology is the field of psychological practice concerned with the assessment, consultation, psychotherapy, and the study of human behavior and thinking within judicial systems. In other words, McClure implies to her audience that forensic psychology is the analysis of criminals, including their behaviors and motives, within the legal system. In simpler terms, forensic psychology, as defined by the American Psychological Association, is the application of clinical specialties to the legal arena. Thus, concentrations within the field of psychology are further applied to the felons within the courtroom. David Cantor, a retired professor at the University of Liverpool, states that the investigative psychology approach to understanding the coherence within offending actions assumes that this requires understanding the meaning of the crime as it makes sense to the offender. To clarify, in order to understand the motives behind an individual's crimes, the forensic psychologist must be able to comprehend that the felony made sense to the offender. In an interview I conducted with Dr. Peter Frost, a forensic psychology professor at Southern New Hampshire University, I posed the question, how would you define forensic psychology? His response was a unique one that I definitely would have not been able to find in a textbook or a database. Dr. Frost states that forensic psychology exists at the intersection between psychology, law, and law enforcement. Our discipline is the scientific study of how mind and behavior relate to legal and criminal contexts. He utilizes the word intersection, which reveals that this field of study is a combination of both psychology and law. With these two fields merged together, professionals are able to thoroughly analyze criminals' behaviors to then figure out how these actions reflect the individual's thinking. Forensic psychology is a vital concept to consider when examining a defendant in the courtroom because it provides psychological background as to why the offender did what they did. With that being said, I also asked Dr. Frost, do you think this field is crucial for investigators and lawyers to consider when dealing with a criminal's case? Dr. Frost mentions that he's a bit biased due to his profession. However, he does believe that forensic psychology is very beneficial. He then expresses that, as a science, forensic psychology includes prediction and treatment of antisocial and criminal behavior. We can bridge the gap between what investigators and lawyers ordinarily do with best practices corroborated with solid scientific findings. As a result, this field of study presents convincing evidence for the members of the legal system to consider as they determine if the defendant is innocent or guilty. Forensic psychology is a form of psychological research that focuses on the analysis of human behavior and mental processes within the legal system. With this field of study, forensic psychologists are able to examine the motives behind criminals that are testifying within the courtroom.